my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and I'm going to be interviewing a really cool guy. This is graphic. I want to say graphic man. um, one sec here. Okay, I'll go with that. This guy he produces the most cool graphics where he takes like sometimes like vintage or golden age books and he combines them with like pop references. It's just so awesome. And I've met him a few times, either through Night Tiger or I did the Fossil show once, and I think that's what he told me is where we actually met. And you know, I was like intrigued by him, and some of the stuff that he was showing was really just so cool. I just, you know, I wanted to bring him on the show and see his comic collection and some of his art collection. So without further ado, let's bring him in here. One sec here. There we go. Sorry about that. I don't know why I was saying graphics man, but I was, yeah.
That's fine.
I want to put the extra S in there. I don't know why, because you do graphics. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
I should be plural.
But yeah, so like how long have you been collecting comics? Like
probably since childhood, since I saw the Sunday funnies, as we like to say.
Okay.
And would beg my parents to read them to me, and was fascinated with Snoopy and wanted to draw him right off the bat.
Okay.
So I just would draw, and then when you enter at school, they want you to study all these things, but I would quickly get done with whatever they wanted to do. And I'm in the back of the class drawing Superman or trying to draw all the spider webs from Spider-Man, and maybe not doing the best job in the world, but
well, that's how you start, right? You got to start somewhere. Yeah. But so whenever the Sunday paper would come out, I'd, you know, just grab the funnies out of it before anyone else would have a chance to look at it. I love the funnies.
And then we went vacationing somewhere to some other state, and they had a TV show where some guy would read the funnies to you.
Oh, really?
And I thought, well, they don't have that back where I live. Well, we must be living, you know, in the Stone Age, because this town has a guy that reads them to you as a little kid. That was pretty big too.
Wow. That is cool. I must have been in the Stone Age too.
Oh.
We didn't have that. So yeah. So so what were the first comics that you sort of collected or got into when you're?
Well, I started like big time with the newspaper strips, so I was very fascinated with the Pogo by Walt Kelly, and just the clean lines that he had. Really amazed me, and I thought, boy, the animals are just so dumb. Of course, that's part of the gag.
Yeah, part of the humor. Yeah.
And then Dick Tracy. Of course, by the time I'm looking at it, it's the 1970s.
Yeah, let me make you big so you can show it.
So this is from the 40s, but so by the time I'm looking at it, Dick Tracy's in the 70s, and you know he's got a wristwatch that it's not only is it a radio, it's a TV by that time.
Yeah, it's really cool. Is that the first appearance or Super Comics? That's like an early appearance of Dick Tracy.
Well, I don't know how early he appeared. This is issue 102 from November 1946.
Oh, okay. Because I've seen a similar cover where he's jumping into the water like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got all these other strips on here as well. So
yeah, Little Orphan Annie and yeah.
So I would collect big little books, but I really liked Dick Tracy, and I thought, this guy, he just doesn't care. He is going to get the bad guy.
I always liked his watch. I do.
Yes. Now, if
that's the one I was trying to pick, I actually bought that, and then the guy didn't send it. I was very sad.
Yeah, if this looks faded, that's because this is on the newsprint, and it's like 6 pages. It's the Popped Wheat
the
giveaway.
Wheat, yeah.
So Chester Gould did not draw this. I don't know who drew who drew
Yeah.
this cover, but and I really loved animal comics.
Oh yeah, Andy Pandy, a panda. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was a huge Donald Duck fan, and so anything that had funny animal, I was all over. I'll show a couple more real quick.
Oh,
So
that's a great cover.
yeah, you probably saw this when I was on Night Tigers show.
Yeah, yeah.
It was in the Christmas scenes. And one more quick one here. So it's a football related. So
Did you ever see the first version of Woody the Woodpecker?
no, I guess not.
Oh, he looks so different. He's like got this really crazy long beak, and he looks like really warped. It's just like he doesn't have the red, the.
It doesn't surprise me. The first appearance of Bugs Bunny looks nothing like what we think of today.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so were you mainly collecting in the so were you mainly collecting Bronze Age, Copper Age? When were you kind of like?
Yeah, because when I was noticing comics,
Mhm.
I go to the little store. We had one here called Book Rack, which great name,
Mhm.
and I saw on the wall Conan #1.
Oh wow!
But I'm little, and so I wanted Popeye, I wanted Spider-Man, the
Yeah,
Hulk,
yeah.
and I knew that when I got older, I'll check out that Conan guy. But just somebody chopping up other people with a sword didn't interest me.
Yeah,
Now it's great, but
yeah, but
I
a different age.
similarly, the DC weird Western or weird war tales, those
Mhm.
are fascinating to me now that I'm older. But I only had a limited budget, and so by the time
Mhm.
I'm getting Donald Duck and some bubble gum and a Coca-Cola, I didn't have any more money for everything. But
Mm.
my father did something really good. When I'm looking for the Fantastic Four, he is digging out uh, Walt Disney,
Oh wow!
and he's digging out Classics Illustrated.
Mhm.
Now, those are two things I wasn't necessarily going for,
Mhm.
uh, and but later on, I definitely had an appreciation for it, and so I recently put together the whole run of 169 Classics Illustrated, 1 through 169, and
Wow.
not all the duplicate or
The
different
first printing?
covers. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, no, I mean, as long as I had the story, I
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
counting it. So, um, but that took a while. But
Yeah,
and
that's a, I mean, that's a big collection to get.
I wouldn't have started that had it not been for my dad just saying, "One day you'll like these. I'm going to go ahead and get them for you."
Mhm.
And to me, it's like, okay, well, they count. They're comics. I'll put them in over here.
Yeah, the funny thing is we don't really like as a kid I wouldn't have thought of them as being comics either, even though they are definitely comics.
Yeah.
But now I have much more appreciation of them too. It's funny how it works. Yeah, so I actually think those classics illustrated are so underrated. Like they're just
Right.
some amazing stories in those. Like they're classic stories, so you can't go wrong.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what were like? Were you more into the superheroes, more into the cartoon funnies, or more into what genre would you say?
Well, anything with funny animal. But what got me really into superheroes was the Marvel Tales reprints,
Oh, okay.
or that big Treasury edition of the Fantastic Four came out in the 70s.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that just that really got me thinking I got to get all these Fantastic Four because this is great. They're arguing with each other.
Yeah,
and
very dysfunctional family.
and they knew who the Hulk was because
Mhm.
Marvel would let them cross over, and
Yeah.
so I thought that was great. But
Mm. But they were always fighting with the Hulk.
yeah, from early on, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. What was I gonna say? Yeah. So you didn't have any horror stories where your parents threw away your comics or anything like that, or?
Well, I was my own worst culprit. I grew up in an era where everybody sold books to each other, uh,
Hmm.
even in what we call yard sales, or some people call it garage sale or a
Hmm.
tag sale, depending on what
Yeah.
part of the world you live in. And if I wanted a new book, I
Hmm.
knew I had to sell the
You're.
13 books over
Oh.
here that I've read to death. And
Hmm.
so, but then I must be like 9 years old. I'm at my grandmother's house and I'm selling boxes of comics,
Wow.
10 cents each. And a man that I would think is my age now
Hmm.
came and bought them all. And
Wow.
the good news was, hey, I sold them. I could go get,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
some candy at the gas station. But then it dawned on me, did I just make a mistake?
Yeah.
Because
Why was he buying all these books? So
right, he's old. What's he? What
why
does
would
he
he
want?
want these? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows what I had that I wish I'd still had.
Yeah. It's funny how we yeah, we give up some some
Oh yeah,
big things. Yeah. Um. So yeah. So what era would have those books been? Like,
they would have been from 75 to 79.
wow.
Uh, yeah,
Okay.
they were
So
probably Gold Key, probably Disney.
okay, so
Uh,
it shouldn't be too bad. It's a 10 cents thing kind of bothers me, but
yeah,
but,
yeah. Well,
but yeah.
I had to make some money, serious money.
Well, yeah, at that time, like when you're a kid, that's big money.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I remember my first Grail that I bought was $10.
Oh wow.
That was in the 80s. So, yeah.
I have a childhood memory of looking up at the wall and seeing Micronauts #1 and thinking someday I'm going to get.
Someday you might. The funny thing is, it hasn't gone up since.
No, no, no.
That's the funny thing is like certain books like really haven't changed in value, but then other books have gone crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, how did you do? How did you get into the art? Like, I know you said you were drawing these things, but how did you get into the stuff that you're doing now, like with the graphics and stuff like that?
I just fell in love with the visual storytelling that you can tell Donald Duck is mad or
Hmm.
happy, and just by looking at his eyes.
Hmm.
And so I wanted to duplicate that, but I never could do a good job on his bill, his mouth.
Yeah, it's a little
Uh,
weird. Yeah, but
that's
cool. Yeah,
those are the pros. Those guys can really
they
do
can
that.
draw a bill. Yeah.
But I found I could manipulate and cut things out, move things around, and I could pretend and make my own comic
Hmm.
book. And so I did that. I would cut the newspaper funnies, and I would draw the captions.
Oh,
I don't have any of that, but
that would be cool if you kept that stuff. Like, so you made your
well,
own little comics and stuff.
of course, now when you look back at something you did, decades ago, and you think, "Oh, what was I thinking?"
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, for the just the idea and what was I, thinking that back then, it would
Hmm.
be nice to have that sort of thing. But
Yeah, yeah.
I just uh, I was kind of like, if you ever saw the movie Amadeus,
Yeah, of
where
course.
the
I like that.
Salieri character,
Yeah,
he has the desire to be a great composer, and
but
then
not the skill.
Mozart shows up, and it just comes easy to Mozart. And I
Yeah.
thought, I'm Salieri because I have the desire to draw Flash Gordon,
Hmm.
but I. Oh,
But yeah, but it takes effort. Whereas
yeah,
like a Mozart just goes out, oh here,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But no, I when I look at your graphics, and we'll get some of those, we'll show some of them. I do see like I'm a big fan of the pop art and the
Okay.
that whole almost commentary, by using like popular references.
Yeah.
I think that's really what pop art is. Um, and I feel like your graphics that you create are very much like that. That they're they're very cultural, I guess would be the way to say it.
There was a company called Wacky Packages,
Yeah,
where
I think I've heard of them.
they would take a picture of Jif peanut butter,
Yeah,
but they would distort it or change it into
yeah,
something gross or funny,
yeah.
and that's a little bit of kind of what I do, not on
Did,
that scale, but
did you ever get into like Garbage Pail Kids or anything like that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
yeah. There's this guy in Arizona. He has Garbage Pail Kid art.
Oh, that's really cute.
He sends this is his store if you want to buy a comic, Arizona. But and now we'll be blurry for a second or two till the camera figures out.
Yeah, you gotta do the hand thing.
Who I am, so or show something white. So yes, there's the professionals write out information on the back. So
yeah, I always think it's cool that like I never had the time or like the inclination to do that for every comic. It's just there's too like it's,
I try,
but it is good to do. I think that's a very good. I like when I buy comics and it has that on it. I'm like, oh wow, don't have to. But yeah, I was a big fan of the Garbage Pail Kids. I collected all the cards as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah. But then I would take all the stickers and put them on my backpacks and stuff. So I didn't see it as a collectible. I just saw it as something.
So a few years ago, I started this Graphic Man channel, thinking, well, I'll try my hand at drawing.
I'll make it big to show this.
Because I can't afford the original art. I thought, well, I like Strange Adventures number 21, and I'll try to draw that. And so that's my attempt at penciling in the title.
Title, yeah.
Now the DC, that's a photocopy. I didn't draw that perfect circle or anything like that, but this was my rendition of that. And
wow, that's really good.
Little difficulty with the water, but that's a fisherman fishing gone wrong.
Yeah, fishing the reverse.
And you're a Golden Age fan. You'll probably recognize this one, Amazing Ghost Stories number 14.
Oh wow!
My version of Matt Baker.
Matt Baker, yeah.
Yeah. So
that's really good. And these are all hand inked or?
Yeah, I use a magic marker, ink pen, a little bit of pencil to try to shade some of the things, and it's supposed to, at first glance you think, oh, you got the original art. No, it's just it's just something.
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, it's very similar.
But to get back to what I realized no one was really watching those videos, so I would take this idea.
Okay.
And I would make it into a whimsical poster.
Oh wow!
So there's Odin, and he's always taking the great Odin sleep, and I just combined the two ideas together. Had to move Donald over and cram Odin's bed in there for the window to be open, and so it's a Dell comic that never existed, but just. I guess
the funny thing is it looks like a genuine cover. Like it doesn't look like
That's what I'm after. One day someone told me, "Hey, this Our Love Stories by Romita."
Oh,
and
wow.
John Romita always draws Spider-Man. This girl kind of looks like Mary Jane, so I reddened her hair and I put Peter Parker in there.
Yeah, it looks like MJ now.
If you look closely, you'll see
it looks like Aunt May.
Yeah, in the background. So
that's really great.
This would be a Marvel comic that I definitely would have bought when I was younger. Making fun of Josie and the Pussycats. So apparently someone doesn't appreciate
Daredevil.
And you recognize Daredevil comes from Daredevil number 5. Back before
that's really cool.
Had the red costume. I don't know how many you want me to show, but
no, just keep on
from the Bronze Age. This was a Frankenstein monster, and I decided to put Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff on there.
Oh, nice.
So didn't take very much time on that one, but one of the 4-color fossils said, "Hey, I like Frankenberry cereal, but can you make that look actually scary?"
Because, okay.
Kind of.
I like Frankenberry cereal too. I mean, just the.
So.
Oh wow, that's really great.
This was a girl who she had a gun pointed at her. I
Mm-hmm.
removed the gun.
And then you put the cereal.
And then I had to draw what her wrist probably looks like, put the cereal in there. And then I created a Frankenstein image with all the goofy stuff coming out of his head and the orange.
Yeah, the Frankenberry look.
Yeah. And then you just top it all off with the logo. So
that's really great.
Trying to think.
You should do that with Count Chocula as well. Like, you do the set, right? Count Chocula
I checked and someone already has. And so I try to just stick to ideas that no one else has really done.
Yeah.
But because someone's always probably going to say, "Oh, you're copying from me," and I don't know.
Yeah.
But we always
the mole people. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I thought I'll make it, the mole man.
Yeah.
So there's the torch, Fantastic Four, and of course I had to draw Thing's toe because it
wasn't there in the original.
Yeah. And so, that would be a cool movie, I think. So,
yeah, it's sort of funny that.
If you recall the Lois Lane comic where she got turned into a centaur.
Oh, yes.
And so I found, this Trigger comic from Roy Rogers. And what if the idea is she has gone on to be with Trigger, and they've created their nice little
baby,
little dot, and there's of course Superman pining in the background. So
that's really funny.
I thought about making it say triggered, but
that would have been cool. Actually, that would be like that extra little touch that would have.
When you spend a couple hours on something, you think, "Oh, that's good enough."
Yeah. No, that's really good though.
So the Howard Hawks movie, The Thing.
Oh wow, yeah.
I thought I'd just quickly put in The Thing. So, and at the bottom there's a movie still. I don't know how that's going to show up, but
you look closely, with The Thing. Yeah.
That was from FF51 where he's just standing there.
Mm-hmm.
Sherlock Holmes had a movie called Spider Woman, so
wow.
I changed her outfit and made it into Spider Woman. So
yeah. So basically, that's the original pose of the girl that was the Spider Woman, but you made it the Spider. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I'll take what's already there. She-Hulk number 10 had a blonde girl that was beating up the She-Hulk, and I thought, why can't we make that Betty and Veronica?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the cult leader would be Archie.
Yeah. That actually looks like something that they would use on, like, how Archie always has crossovers, right? Like with pretty much everything. That looks like a very crossover style book.
I don't know if you have Crusader from Mars number 2.
Oh no, that's really great.
It had a pulp-looking guy, and he had that domino mask. And I was telling somebody, I bet I could turn him into Robin.
Wow.
And they said, why don't you go all the way and make that Catwoman and Batman? And
so how did you make the Batman?
Slowly. And because it's on Mars, I threw in the Martian Manhunter way in the back here.
Oh yeah.
Just
that looks really cool. You really captured the pulpy style for both Robin and Batman too.
I'll show you the before and after. It's up high in a second, but moving quickly, Action Comics number 1. I thought it needed a little more action.
Yeah, I'm not sure if DC would be too happy seeing all these Marvel characters in it, but
no, but I would like to read it.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Of course, what I'm wearing is my Richie Rich Bitcoin, and here's this. It's my version of a slab. Wow. So of course, Graphic Man. I'm here at the bottom. I'm one of the the kids, but and it's a 12.9, which I hear is a real high grade.
That's the highest grade I've ever heard. So that's really awesome.
And when I made this, Bitcoin was doing really, really, really good.
Well, I think it's kind of recovering, so you never know. That could become a hot commodity.
It might. I think one of the basketball stadiums is named
Bitcoin.
Well, not Bitcoin, but crypto field.
Oh, okay.
Crypto something. Combat. I decided to make that Sergeant Snorkel.
Yeah, that's really great.
And after I finally got his face in there just right, I realized, and then of course I made this title.
Hmm.
I realized, wait a minute, he doesn't have his sergeant stripes.
Oh no.
And I thought, well, that's going to be take forever for me to go in there and put those in there with all the wrinkles of his
Yeah,
arm.
yeah, yeah.
Then I got the idea. I'll make up a sub story how he earned his.
Oh,
And
cool.
so Sergeant Snorkel, was in the Korean War, and
He's got killing to get his
that's
stripes.
that's how he earned his stripes.
That's cool.
Um, I have a couple more here. I don't want to bore the audience too much.
No, I think people would love this. This is awesome.
Gray Morrow had made a movie poster for a movie in the 70s called The Dynamite Brothers. And
Wow.
they were handcuffed. I took the handcuff off of Iron Fist,
Hmm.
well, the guy that's going to become Iron Fist,
Yeah, yeah.
and there was an explosion right behind his fist, and it worked out perfectly.
So it
And
looks like he's punching with fire. Yeah.
right, and so the hardest part, this guy's shirt is blue and white, and
Oh.
to make that like a butter yellow, that that's what took a while. And then I added some elements here from Hero for Hire #1,
Hmm.
and the dice.
Yeah,
And
it reminds me of like some black black
that's right.
exploitation.
And
Yeah.
that's what it was. That's what it was. I was able to make a mask around Iron Fist to cover up. He was an Asian character, and so
Oh,
I,
really?
I had to make him, but that was easy to disguise. Two more real quick. Well, we've already seen Frankenberry, and here's the one you probably want to see if you're a Golden Age Good Girl art fan.
Yeah, I love this one.
The idea just came to me. Why can't I make that tiger
I know.
look
I mean,
more?
it's almost perfect. Like, I mean, like, that
Yeah.
just the setup for it. The fact that there's this tiger, right? It
Yeah,
was
you can
not actually it wasn't a tiger originally, was it? It was some other animal.
No, it was a tiger.
It was a
Yeah.
tiger? Okay.
Yeah, and but his look on his face, you
Just
don't.
fits, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, she's got to kill him because he's obviously crazy.
He's like,
So,
well, that's so cool.
well, that's it for right now. I'll show one little thing later, but if I can find it real quick, I was going to show you a before and after.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Of that Crusader from Mars. Here, I had them printed in a book for my son for one day. So
Oh,
the
wow.
original is there on your left.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
You see where he had the mask, and I thought, well, I'll just make that into Robin.
Yeah, it seems like very suited to turning it into a Robin. Wow. That's really cool.
And of course, the 4-color fossils. There we are, as the Sergeant Pepper's band. So we like to get together every Wednesday night and show some books. So
yeah, it's really awesome.
that's
wow. One sec here. So those were really fun. So do you do like commission artwork for people?
I never really have. When I started drawing a lot in high school, I did go around to my friends saying, "Hey, if you want me to draw something, give me some money and I'll draw it for you."
Mm-hmm. Did it work?
Someone said, well, "Draw me a car real quick."
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down, I tried to draw a car, and I realized, if it's not funny animal or crazy comic book, I'm terrible. So I realized I can't go into an artist field for money.
Mm-hmm.
But if I just get a crazy idea and it's fun, then I like it.
But there's talent in what you're doing. Like, I mean, like it's maybe not don't have the skill to like be like a card drawer, but you obviously have skill where you can manipulate images to make them something new and different.
Now, I have had a few people want to buy Richie Rich Vault of Mystery.
That's really cool.
Because Richie Rich did have a title, Vault of Mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried to make it seem scary, but it was never scary.
Of course. Well, it can't be scary.
And so I thought, I bet I could make it, terrifying. And of course,
I like the fact that Casper is in there, betrayed by
right.
Casper.
That's right. And so I forget where I got the cover from.
That's actually a scary version of Casper too. He's usually not so.
I think this is Adventures into Darkness or something. It was pre-code.
Mm-hmm.
And
wow.
So, of course, if you'll see the urn behind him says Graphic Man. So,
oh, nice. So you're dead in this one.
Yes, that's right. But
I think those little touches really do add to it, though.
And as far as commission, one of the fossils, Eric Breen, said, "Hey, I just got a witching hour, and this guy is turning into a werewolf." And she says, "Oh, we're safe from the thing." He says, "Can you make that into the thing?" And so I actually did. I made his feet.
Yeah, it looks like he's turning into the thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there you got the thing on a DC comic.
And what was it before?
He's turning into a werewolf.
Werewolf, yeah, I figured, yeah.
So it's just little tiny subtle things. So
yeah.
I did do my first convention last year, mm-hmm. and sold about 9 or 10 posters. I had them in these little frames, but and it sold good, but it wasn't really worth being there the whole day on a Saturday.
Yeah. The conventions can be pretty expensive to do as well.
Yeah, and most people are there to dress up,
mm-hmm.
and they want to, show off their costume to their friends, but they're not really there, at least in the part of the country that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. I mean, even I don't know. Lately, whenever I go to a convention, like when I first went to conventions, I was so excited. There was so many comics. It was like a big thing.
Yeah.
And then it became more about other stuff. Like the comics kept on getting relegated to a smaller and smaller section. Yeah, it's weird.
I would go to Star Trek conventions in the 90s,
mm-hmm.
and there'd always be a couple of comic guys in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're there to see the Star Trek actors or get an autograph, but how can I pass up this Fantastic Four number 6?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it used to be like what they would do is like whenever I go to the conventions, they would always have the signings, right, where you get like
mm-hmm.
all the panels and stuff. But what they would do is have it related to comics, so you could meet like Stan Lee or you could meet like whatever people, right? But all the vendors would have on their wall books that were ones that you'd want to get signed by those creators,
mm-hmm.
right? So that they really leveraged the fact, and it worked really well. But lately it's been more Funko Pops and stuff like that, where they're doing the same thing but with Funkos.
Now the artists, I never really saw many of those. Of course, I'm in a part of Missouri that doesn't get much action as far as the artists, but we did have Don Rosa come in. He took over for Carl Barks on Uncle Scrooge and Donald, and I got his autograph. And he does a mock-up of Tales from the Crypt,
mm-hmm.
but he does it Tales from the Coop, like a chicken coop. And so if you remember the one where there's a guy inside a crypt and he's trying to get out the door because behind him a grave is opening and it's,
Yeah.
Okay. So he's got Donald as the frightened character wanting to get out, and Gus Goose, his family from the family farm, is coming up out of the crypt. So it's Tales from the Coop, the chicken coop.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And so if Rosa can do this, well, that's probably my first oddball
mm-hmm.
spoof poster. And so I'll try my hand at these. So he's of course way much better, but
yeah. I mean, his stuff's quite great. like I collect Uncle Scrooge and stuff. He did he did an Uncle Scrooge and he did Donald Duck and
Right.
Yeah, my brother actually met him and got some like his prints and stuff like that.
One time through an auction, I got one of the Hulk comics he had. I think it was number 176.
Mm-hmm.
But it came with a certificate where on the back of the certificate, he's drawn Donald as Spider-Man
Mm-hmm.
and Uncle Scrooge as Batman or something like that.
Yeah.
Which was neat to have. But he preferred Scrooge. I prefer Donald.
Yeah, I was a big Scrooge fan personally.
That's fine. I kind of like the Donald before Scrooge.
But I actually liked Donald when I was a kid more than Scrooge. Yeah. So I was the other way when I was a kid, but now it's more the other. I prefer Scrooge. Strangely.
Sure. And I have some Donald.
Oh, that's great.
He's trying to get that worm.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff I really like.
I noticed like mostly Golden Age and the stuff that you've shown me. Is that where your kind of collecting has gone towards?
Yeah. Around 1992, I thought the industry was getting a little haywire, and so I quit. And of course, by that time, I'm a married man, and you got to look at things a little differently. And then I never really could get back into them, but there was just so much from the old days and before I was born that that's what I want to focus on. Things before 1990. So I love things that just are so old. You probably have this one slabbed.
No, but, I don't have that.
This
it's crazy cover. That's a cool cover.
It doesn't have to be pre-code, but it sure makes it nice.
Yeah. I mean, I think you should do more of those. I like the crossovers where you take like a non-scary character, like a Disney character, and then you combine it with like that pre-code horror style.
Yeah.
There's so many great covers. It'd be a really fun one is Chamber of Chills, with the cup, where she's like holding the cup to her face.
I've thought of that, but I don't know who to replace her with.
I don't know.
I've considered that, but it's like.
But what do you do with it? Yeah. So it's like.
Unless it's someone in the news that's real famous or.
But could you do a cartoon character?
Well, now the idea is coming to me, maybe Olive Oyl.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I don't know.
Yeah, that would be cool. See?
As soon as I would do something like that, I'd look at it and I go, who would want to look at this?
Yeah, no, but but I think people that's a classic pre-code horror cover that beyond even collectors would know.
Yeah.
And to do it with a classic character like Olive Oyl would be so funny. It'd be cool.
Well, maybe right now I'm working on, if you remember from 1968 was Submariner #1.
Yeah.
He's standing there triumphantly holding that.
He's like, and he's like on the blue cover. Yeah.
I'm turning him into a sea monkey.
Actually, that cover is kind of sea monkey-like. I can see it. I could definitely see it.
Yeah.
Are you going to put you have to put the little castle. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, I'm using what's in the image. Excuse me. And behind him are all these little scenes from the life of Submariner.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm adding little antennas to those.
Yeah.
So I'm messing around with what's in there, and I'm giving him a tail. So that's hard to do. You got to match it up to look like his skin tone. And
is there any way you could do it the other way around instead of taking the cover of take that cover, but kind of merge it with the ads that were at the back of those comics?
I've thought of taking that family and turning them into the Fossils, or I'm one of them, or something.
Yeah.
But
I love, I was a big Sea Monkey fan when I was a kid. I love that. I actually, okay, so I have a horror story of of, of it. Like, so I'm not sure if you've ever tried it, but what happens is they really take a long time to grow.
Wow.
If you so I was like, okay, it says give the food, right? But I was like really impatient, so I gave all the food. So what happened was it grew algae. It just it turned all green, and like it kind of overflowed with this green algae because that's what they eat, right? Yeah. I did it later properly, but yeah, I had two attempts. The second attempt I got it right. They're kind of not really cool looking. They're brine shrimp, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't as exciting as as the comics would make it seem.
No, that picture, they've got mom, dad, brother, and sister, and they're all just staring at that bowl like this is the greatest thing.
Yeah, and they're doing like so many cool things, and they have like a little kingdom, and yeah, I love the sea monkeys. I thought they were great. Like that was like, the funny thing is when I was a kid, in a way, I kind of liked the ads sometimes more than the comic. I was always reading the ads. I was just so excited by them.
Well, DC Comics, because I'm probably pretty standard. It was Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Captain America, mostly Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
But every now and then I would get like a coverless DC comic.
Oh, okay.
Because you could get those all day long.
Yeah, because people almost trash. Like
buy a box of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm going through there, and they would have house ads. 1972, they'd be little black and white thumbnail images of the books you could buy from DC.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And there would be Our War or Our Army at War, Star Spangled, whatever. And it's the guy, he's pretending to be dead because the soldiers are on the hill looking at him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a snake going to bite him. And if he stays there and plays dead, the snake's going to get him, or if he moves, the soldiers
will get him. Yeah, yeah.
And as a little kid, I'm looking at it thinking, I got to get that DC comic.
Yeah.
But those ads were dynamite.
Yeah, I collected Warren in the 90s, and they did the same thing where at the back of the magazines would have all the previous ones. And if you look at the prices of those books, based on which books were missing, like, they'd have 1, 2, 3, and then 4 would be, or, certain books would be missing. And those ones were the ones that generally sell for more money because they sold out first. You know what I mean? Yeah, I love that. I like that. What I remember that as a kid, those ads in the comics, and I would actually cross out if I had it.
Okay.
Use the ads almost as a collection list.
A checklist, yeah.
Yeah, checklist. I was so bad to my comics.
But that's understandable. I don't know if you ever collected like baseball cards, but they would send a checklist card.
Yeah.
And they'd have
and then you'd have little check marks.
A little box you can mark. So that's what I do. I just make a Word document, Microsoft Word, and I'll fill it out. I'll make a little box, and if I have that number, I check it off because when you get to be my age and you start getting more than one of the same thing because you forgot you already had it.
Yeah, I do that all the time. It drives me nuts.
The checklist was a great idea. And so what you're doing by Xing out, that's perfectly understandable. I totally understand.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's me. That's the 9-year-old me.
No, it's good.
But yeah, so I was curious, what are you up to now, and where can people find you and stuff like that? Or
on YouTube, it's Graphic Man Comics. Same with the Instagram. So sometimes I'll put some of my some of these arts that I've shown, I've already got out there, and a little bit of extra stuff. But like I used to make Graphic Man videos, but only like 40 or 50 people would watch.
Yeah.
And so me and some of the buddies would get together and we would stream live. And if you streamed for more than an hour, people would show up and watch.
Yeah, people would just sort of drop in and check it out. Yeah.
And so we started getting 400, 350 viewers.
Wow.
And so Every Wednesday night, we get together and we show gold, silver, and bronze. So
Hmm.
some of the guys will show something more modern. I don't throw them off the channel for that, but um, no, it's we appreciate the older style,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we know that there's a bunch of 20-year-olds out there who look at us and they think we're old fossils anyway.
yeah, yeah.
So we gladly call ourselves the Four Color Fossils.
Hmm.
It's a tribute to the Four Color Dell
Comics, yeah,
printing press.
yeah.
Um, so we do that. And I make the occasional video. Recently, I made a video where a guy came over and brought a lot of pulps,
Oh
and
wow.
he's showing me pulps from 1926.
Yeah,
So fantastic. So I've got to make sure I don't go down that path because
yeah.
there's no way
It is a different rabbit hole altogether. I mean, some of the like, if I was ever going to collect pulps, and I do have a few, I shouldn't say I don't collect them, but I'd never read them. I just I don't like the feeling of the books themselves. Like like the
Yeah.
pulp paper is just not the greatest. But the covers were so brilliant back then. They did some pretty amazing covers.
Well, I read this one,
Hmm.
but it's not. It's from the 50s, and so
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
still
yeah,
in really good shape.
yeah.
Pretty good story. Pretty good
Yeah,
story.
no, they would actually have amazing writers. Like
I still think it would be better if they had more pictures, but I totally get it. And today's generations they don't read enough as it is, so
yeah.
I highly promote them.
I actually, I've read some of the pulps that I have, I have some of the Spicy Tales and stuff like that. Those ones are pretty cool.
Do you have the Buck Rogers? Or am I thinking-
No, that's Alex the Comic Hoarder has that.
Okay.
That's Amazing Stories #1.
Yeah.
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 I've seen it actually a few times where I could have potentially bought it if I had lots of money. They always want some crazy amount for it.
If something like that ever came over here, I would be tempted to open it once, take lots of pictures of each page.
Yeah.
And of course, someone's probably already done that somewhere on the internet. But
Actually, you can find. Do you know the Internet Archive?
Okay, yeah.
They actually have a lot of the pulps. Like I actually read the pulps. I do read them using
Right
that.
there.
I don't
Good.
read the actual book itself, but I'd read it on
Yeah.
the Internet Archive, and they have a lot of those early ones. I even think they have the first Buck Rogers
Right.
in a PDF, right?
Yeah, unless it's something that I just showed you, where you're not. I'm not going to mess this up, but
Yeah.
some of them that this guy was showing me the other day, 1926, 27, 28, 29, just outstanding. They were totally fascinated with flight because flying in an airplane was just
relatively
a couple of
new.
decades
Yeah.
old. You're right.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was only only a handful of people that were doing it. It wasn't like a commercial thing back then. It wasn't until the
Right.
30s that it became like more, something that maybe if you're a little bit wealthier you could do.
And we think of ourselves as being, the true custodians of science fiction because we had Star Trek, Planet of the Apes,
Yeah.
all that. But those guys 100 years ago, they were really science fiction crazy.
Yeah. Actually, I kind of prefer it. I like seeing those old movies where they're all flying airplanes around the cities,
Yeah.
and it's just there's some charm to it, right? And
Yeah, Metropolis from the
Metropolis
Germans.
is the one I'm thinking. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I actually had the VHS of that, and I would watch it over and over again. And also I had VHSs of all the old serials and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was really into that.
I mentioned earlier I went to this place called Book Rack when I was a kid. That guy, he sold old radio programs.
Oh wow!
And so that's where my first taste of Jack Benny, The Green Hornet, Superman, Blackstone the Magician, all these old, and they'd have mystery, they'd have comedy. The old time radio greats are a whole other genre. So
It's
Basically,
funny.
if
Like,
it's old, I like it. So
yeah, those I actually think those would do well nowadays. I find that there was sort of a lot of those serials got killed during like the advent of the television, where people were like,
yeah,
oh, now we can see it with pictures and stuff.
yes,
But the funny thing is nowadays I've seen people kind of going the other way around, where they like the podcasts and they just like
right.
listening to it, right? So I mean, I could see that those old radio serials would be really great, like bringing them back almost, But
And they teach you historical things.
yeah.
Like one time, a comedian said, "I got to go drill holes in my car, because I told my kids I have a Buick."
Hmm.
And I had no idea. And I said to my father, I said,
Why would they
"Explain
do
this
that?
joke to me." He says back then Buick bragged that they had all these special little vents that
Hmm.
would help the engine and all that. And so okay, but
Oh,
it made sense. But sometimes it's a little dated, and you got to go, what are they talking about?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Where
yeah,
I don't know about Canada, but here in America, our tax day is April 15th.
yeah.
And they told the joke that how can we celebrate St. Patrick's Day when 2 days earlier the government took all of our green away? And I realized the income tax day used to be March 15th
Oh,
back in
so
the
they moved it.
1940s. That's right. So you learn stuff every now and then.
No, that's interesting. I mean, yeah, I mean, and also the vernacular would be slightly different, and
Right.
yeah, yeah. That's one thing I always enjoyed watching. As I said, I'd watch all the serials like Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon and all those ones.
Yeah.
Loved those serials; they were fun. Um, yeah, actually, it's funny. Like watching those serials. Like you can watch them on YouTube nowadays because somebody's downloaded them and put them on YouTube. But watching a serial straight is really crazy because they were designed to be short, right? They're designed to be like 5-10 minutes long. They're not like very long shows. Sometimes 20 minutes maybe, but it's hype. It's like very actiony.
Mm-hmm.
So watching that for like 3-4 hours or like straight, it's just like too intense almost. It's kind of crazy. I watched what's it called? Nyoko.
Okay.
Yeah, the sort of a jungly kind of one. Jungle African adventures, I should say, or some kind of. They were like on a quest to find some hidden treasure.
All right.
And like most of the serial was actually them just trying to get the map to find this. It's like it's all this like stuff that they have to do, like all these hoops that they have to go through. It's interesting. And the bad guy's always trying to steal the map. It's like it's just it's fun stuff. But yeah, it was great having you on the show.
Sure.
Were there any books that you wanted to show, like that, other than the ones that you showed, or?
Oh, I'll show just about 5 Donald Ducks.
I'll let you show a couple more, and then we'll. Oh wow, that's a biggie.
So the Golden Helmet. I always loved that story.
That's a very famous story.
There's a Carl Barks Dangerous Disguises.
Oh, nice. See that? By the way, that one would be a great Daredevil one. That was one.
Oh yeah, with the bull.
Yeah.
And
oh, that's a really famous one too. Voodoo Hoodoo.
Yeah, there's a zombie in it, ladies and gentlemen. A zombie.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's really great.
And the last one here's Walt Kelly.
I forgot. That's a key appearance. I forgot who's. Like,
really?
Yeah, it's a key. That's a key. Well, they're all keys, the ones you just showed, but that has like a first appearance of some character. I forgot which.
Yeah, to me, they're all key.
Yeah, no, they're all awesome.
Yeah.
I love those. Yeah. I love those early Donalds. Yeah, no, that's great. Carl Barks was the man. I mean, he's just he's just really great. So thanks again for coming on the show. I'll put all your links in the description, and I'll encourage people to go over and try to get you to commission some piece for them. No, I think your stuff is fun. I think it's really cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So thanks again. And everyone watching, go check out Graphic Man, not Graphics Man, Graphic Man on Instagram and his YouTube channel.
Sure.
Okay. Bye for now.